Yes, we've gotten so much done over the last 7 days. I'm actually kind of blown away actually by how much we've gotten done. And I'm so excited to share it with you. Yes, you looking right now. If you haven't already, don't please forget to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And now that we have that stuff out of the way, come along with me on the journey of independent filmmaking. If you don't know, I am making a feature film, an independent feature film. The name of the independent feature film is Gardener's Planet. For the last 6 months, this CGI alien scene has been a constantly evolving thing. It's gone from one CGI alien scene to 2 CGI scenes to 3 CGI alien scenes, spread throughout the course of the film. The scenes essentially are made up of 1, 2, 3 elements. One element is the ship that the aliens are talking in. The second element is, of course, the aliens themselves, 2 aliens having a conversation on the ship. And the third element, the element that I have kind of been overlooking, is the sound element, in terms of the voices. Now, you can break those 3 elements down into, subcategories in terms of the sound, having to hire 2 different actors for that. In terms of the aliens, the lighting and the atmosphere and the noise that you're seeing on the set. But broadly speaking, it's those 3 elements. Step 1, buying an alien spaceship. So in terms of the first element, the alien ship, I did actually design and build an alien ship on Blender. I really wanted that cool Simpsons Treehouse of Horror thing with the aliens on the bridge looking out at the Earth in the background and plotting. But, I guess I wasn't good enough at Blender to pull it off. What's good about me, or what's bad about me maybe, is that I've enough of an ego. I will try it, but I will also admit that I couldn't get it where I wanted it, and it was never good enough. I was pretty okay with the designing and scaling and adding in the buttons and stuff, but the lighting and the environment texture, that kind of really let me down, I guess. But really, I made the whole thing a lot more complicated than what it needs to be. In the end, I have caved, and just the week before last, actually, I did buy an alien ship for €9 on something like Turbo Squid or some site like that. And what was cool actually was a Cinema 3DX. Is that a thing? Cinema 3DX, 2DX, whatever it is, model. But I was able to bring it into Blender, do an add-on, scale it way down because it came in massive, bring it into Blender. And I did have to re-add the materials. So, I did a certain amount of it, add in the materials and the colors. But yeah, it's someone else's model. But yeah, God, it's disappointing, but it looks so good. I can't be annoyed. You know what I mean? As soon as I brought it to Blender, I could see the difference between what I was doing and what a professional had done. And, I want the film to look professional and be a professional production. So much as I wanted my model to be in there, I more wanted the film to feel like a professional, cool production, and the alien ship has had a big impact on that. So I'm really pleased I did that. Step 2, getting the sound correct. So then in terms of the alien audio, this was just a complete crazy journey as well. Originally, I wasn't thinking about the audio. I was so focused on the difficulty of 3D animation and getting my head around that I kind of was like, okay, I understand at least what sound is about, so I'll do that later as a separate part of the journey. And my feeling was, I guess what my feeling was, that once I can get my head around the 3D animation, it'll be easy enough to dub in the sound later. Of course, that wasn't the case, and the sound became one reason why this journey was so long. So after I had somewhat gotten my head around Blender, or at least enough that I could now start thinking about the sound, I realized that I was in somewhat of a quandary. So last July, or July just gone, I made this video here, if you haven't seen it, on how I was trying to do some of the AI voices. And that, at least on the surface, seemed like an acceptable solution to someone who didn't have the money at that point to hire actors and who just wanted to, move forward with the project. It seemed like a relatively straightforward thing, that I would record the audio, input it into this free AI software, and it would change my voice into 2 different voices, Alien 1 and Alien 2.
And now they must be eliminated before they do any more damage to one of the most perfect planets in the galaxy.
And it was interesting. I had to go through it just to try it and to learn more about it, because if it had been an easy solution and if it had worked fine, I would have gone with that. But really, very soon after making that video in July, I was like, not so much. And I also talked to our amazing sound recorder, Sean Hallahan, and he also wasn't so keen on it as well. So really then we decided that no, we're going to have to do this, what you might call the normal way. Anytime anyone from Disney or Pixar or anyone makes an animated movie, you always start with the audio recording and then you build the animation on top of that in terms of the movement that comes from the voice, in terms of how the actor and how the mouth is moving, obviously in regards to the voice, but also the kind of you get little subtleties in the performance that are coming from the voice as well. So we got an amazing voice actor, Dara O'Brien, to do Alien 1. He did a great recording of that.
Indeed. Perfect air, perfect war, perfect vegetation. Once our research is complete and we master our understanding of their environment, then their planet will soon be ours.
I did just the other version, the other Alien, Alien 2. I recorded that here in my bedroom on the Zoom. And I sent both of those onto Sean. Sean did a great job turning them again from the human tones into the alien tones. And then he sent them back to me.
Yes, and now they must be eliminated before they do any more damage to one of the most perfect planets in the galaxy.
It's a good kind of lesson to me that even if you're doing this somewhat abstract, crazy, zany scene of the aliens looking over the Earth, it's still driven by the performance, and while you want the blender setting and scene and animation up to a certain standard, really the performance is also what is driving the scene. So I'm very grateful to Dara to have done a great job recording that, and he blew my performance out of the water. But it is a really good lesson that you always need the human element as the foundation of any scene, and it's important to remember that. Step 3, the aliens themselves. So this was at least certainly the third, but maybe the fourth time that I had done these aliens. But each time I was learning both Blender, and I was learning the process by which to be doing these things. So I just had to redo all the aliens. And what I was doing this time is I had to redo the aliens, not just bearing in mind my performance and Dara's performance, but also bearing in mind the mouth movements. So it was hard. And each alien has about there's 3 scenes, each alien has about 4 lines. So there was something like 24 shots, and each take was done probably an average of 3 times. So whatever 3 times 24 is 60, 70 something. So 70 takes just to get these roughly 24 shots done. But I did it here in my bedroom, again, just filming me against the wall with the dinosaur. But with a much more emphasis now on trying to match the words.
Before they do any more damage to one of the most perfect planets in the galaxy.
And sometimes I was overacting it, like you're playing the audio and say Dara's performance would be different to how I'm doing it. So I'm like trying to go, and now that alien, so you're trying to match it, and you feel pretty silly doing it sometimes, or very silly. I wish I only felt a little bit silly. I felt very silly doing it. But I did all that and did all those 24 shots, and then brought them then from the camera, brought them down into the 4 or 5 seconds, and then went through from scene 1 of the alien spaceship, scene 2 of the alien spaceship, and scene 3 of the alien spaceship, happening obviously over Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And it's a huge job creating all those files. Not a huge job, but it's a very important job in terms of, updating them, that you're not confusing the previous version with the version that I'm doing now in October. So yeah, huge job. Oh my God. And I did those 70 odd shots over the course of like 4 days. So yeah, I survived the week. And then just the other thing I want to talk about in regards to the aliens and, you know, creating them in Blender is the lighting. And this is where I've actually developed some hard skills. A lot of what I'm talking about in this video is more workflow skills in terms of doing this and then doing this and then doing this. But in terms of the lighting within Blender, I've gone a lot better at that, there's no question. Some of the early versions of the aliens and these scenes, you know, are less scenes and are more like experiments in me trying to make it look good and trying to learn the interface of Blender. And that's taken a long time. You know, I do look back at some of those videos, like the one I made in Claire 6 months ago, and I do kind of cringe. It's like a video of a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. But again, like I said, the good thing about me is, you know, I'm willing to learn, and I'll put the time in to learn. And I've learned a lot about the lighting in Blender, and you can see here it looks a lot better. So essentially what I did is obviously changing from my ship, which was more kind of red and purple and a lot brighter, to this more new ship, which is more kind of blue, required a significant lighting change. And I chose the ship as well because I did want a darker environment. You know, the whole purpose of the scene was that the aliens were plotting, so it required a little bit of creativity to ensure that the ship and the look of the scene matched the tone that I wanted for the music that we'd already created. I just felt the other scene was a little bit more carnival-like or something. It was fun, but it was a bit maybe too zany. So after having found the new ship model, I found a cool HDRI, which was like Peppermint Factory, and it had some kind of greens and blues. So I brought that in and I plugged it at a very low kind of level. I plugged it in at 0.3%. And what I also did was that whenever I had the camera, I was shooting into the shadow. So on Alien 2 it was fine, but then on Alien 1 I rotated the HDRI on the Z-axis, so that again, whichever alien I was shooting at, I was always shooting into the shadow, and the HDRI gave me that shadow. But obviously if the alien is looking this way, I still wanted some light on the far side of the face. So I created my first light then in the scene, and that was an area light, and that was at roughly 30% or 30 points, whatever it is in Blender. I don't really know what it is, but if we say it's 30%, that was kind of dark blue, and that was kind of put off to that side of the face. So you got a nice kind of spread of blue, but not obviously picking up too much detail in the shadow here. A little bit, but not too much. I wanted to keep the shadow, like I say, for the tone and tension. And then I only created one other light, so only two lights. So the area light at 30%, and then I put a hard light of white light off to whatever, the left or right of the alien, depending on which one it was. And that was at, that was at 30, and the area light, that was actually at 200%. So that was quite bright, but it was further away. And then the hard light there, just to give a sense of, well, it's edge light, so it's a sense of, you know, a bit of punctuation, whatever you want to call it, there on the far side of the face. And that was really it. That was all the lighting there was. And the hard light then, that was supposed to be coming from the window of Earth, and then that gradually changed into the blue light, and then you had the shadow from the rest of the ship, suggesting the kind of more sinister interior. And that'll be complemented by, I'm sure, some amazing work that Sean Hallen will do in terms of ship kind of sound effects. And just the other thing I want to say in relation to the camera, which I didn't speak about before, is that turning on the depth of field feature on it makes a massive difference to the final product. It gives the camera maybe a greater sense of physicality, and it gives a greater sense of space to the project, that's in a real physical space and not just in an artificial 3D environment. So turning that on and off makes a huge difference. And you can see when I zoom into the fingers there, having them out of focus in somewhat the foreground makes a big difference to the subtlety of the scene. Yeah, and it looks really cool. You know, I was just making it far more harder than it needed to be. I think I had like a green light going up and down in the background of the old one, and I had a yellow light, and I had whatever. It was crazy. It was almost like a circus. So this is far more subtler, you know. just the HDRI giving me kind of a broad bit of lighting, but at a very low strength, 0.3. The area light, obviously 200%, but further away. And then the hard kind of white light coming in. So, but that's always the way it is, you know, when you're learning something, you always make it way harder than it needs to be. But I'm really, really pleased with the lighting on this. And every time I did it, even overall 24 shots, I tried little subtle differences, and I really enjoyed that lighting creativity. I really like lighting. I should try and do it more. But yeah, really pleased now with how this has come out.
These Earthlings don't know how good they have it.
Yes, and now they must be eliminated before they do any more damage to one of the most perfect planets in the galaxy.
So yes, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I wasn't actually planning on making this video. I kind of have another one in the works, but it's a little bit bigger and longer, and it's just taking a little bit more time to get done from a pre-production point of view. And just because I made so much progress on the film this week, I just said I'd jump on and kind of make a quick video, because I'm so pleased with the progress, and so grateful to Dara and Sean for helping me. Just goes to show that, you know, taking your time, taking a step back from it, taking your time, looking at it, assessing what you've done is so important when you're making art, especially when you're on your own, kind of in your bedroom in somewhat of a bubble environment. So I'm really glad that I took the time to reassess and get it good as it can be. So thank you so much for watching. Like I say, if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe, and I'll be back with another video very soon.